And so the focus is trying to get student athletes all the information that they need to consider and not be in denial of the truth.
Okay.
Because, it's April.
Yeah.
I'm working with high school teams right now. And we got a lot of seniors who is coming into the reality of the truth that, that stuff he was talking about is true because they don't have offers on the table.
Right.
And, just want to send a big shout out to, like Darrin Peterson.
Yeah, shout out to him.
He's a phenom at the end of the day.
Literally.
So if we look at these stats from the NCAA, in high school, there's 540,000 basketball players.
Right.
This dude is ranked number 3 out of 500,000 student athletes.
And the number one guard in the entire nation.
The number one guard in the entire nation. He's an anomaly.
Yes. Shout out to
And so and shout out to him.
And his family.
And he put the work in.
Yes.
He do everything he's supposed to do, but he's been blessed to have that level of talent.
Yes. And then the support system, the family,
and the support system. They got
phenomenal stuff.
Shout out to them. They got a whole engine around him.
Right.
But the issue becomes is other student athletes looking at his engine and you don't have that engine.
Interesting.
So you can't base where you're going off what he has because you're not in that percentage. And then you talk about men's basketball. Now they go from high school to college. Now you're down to 18,000. Because why? Basketball teams are smaller.
True.
And not everybody that's sitting on that bench, Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, Ohio State, not everybody on that bench got a scholarship.
Right.
Then you break that from high school to the NCAA, that 18,000 that produces down or gets shrunk down to 3.5%. And then only 1.2% actually go to the pros.
Man.
So there are student athletes that got the call, that got the ability, but it's about the masses. You got to be realistic.
Yes.
Because if you're not the kid that got 25 offers as a freshman,
right,
sophomore, junior year, you go into your senior year, you got 1 to 0 offers.
1 to 0.
And the closer you get to the start of your senior year, the more you're gonna have to really consider going pro in something other than sports. What's up, student athlete world? Lester Sanders here from Canton, Ohio, home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And this is I Am Student Athlete. Good student athlete world. Welcome to the I Am Student Athlete podcast. I am Lester Sanders, your host, coming from Canton, Ohio, home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This is the podcast where we coach you to be triple-double mindset student athletes, which is to be great, number 1, in the classroom, number 2, on the field of court, and number 3, in the game of life. But be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss anything. And I got one ask. Please share this with everyone that you can, because this is a movement to empower student athletes everywhere to take their game to the next level. Lucas, this is the ReLaunch episode of the I Am Student Athlete podcast.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just super excited that this vision of mine to empower student athletes is back in the game. And, one of the reasons that I Am Student Athlete is back in the game is because of this partnership between my company, your company, Lester Sanders Limitless Incorporated, LesterSanders.com, and Lucas Live Media.
Yes, I like that you said that right. So see, a lot of people say Lucas Media Live, and I'm like, that ain't me. I'm like, I think that's like the knockoff Gucci bag.
Well, I try to pronunciate.
I like that. You like that. I like that. I like that. I appreciate that. Yeah. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, man. Because one of the reasons we relaunched. I started the podcast with one of my classmates, Jay Keys.
Right.
And there's a couple things that happened. No issues or nothing like that. But He had two twins that was
Oh,
born.
he had two twins? Is that like four or is that like
No,
two?
no. Okay.
Okay.
So he had
a set of twins. Okay, you said two twins.
Okay, he had twins.
Man, he had two twins?
He had twins.
Okay, he had a set of twins. Okay.
Work schedules and all that.
Yeah.
So we did like 6 pilot episodes.
Right.
We was recording on Zoom and then going through it, you start something, you got a vision for something, and then you got to see the steps that you got to take to be successful.
Yep.
And then I was sitting thinking like, man, I actually need a producer.
And you reached out.
and be able to, to take the show to the next level.
Yeah.
I wanted to send a shout out to Jay because at the end of the day, he started the podcast with me.
Yeah.
So we working on times to be able to get back recording together. And
I love that. Shout out to Jay Keys, man. Love his family. And just everybody, Miss Keys and everybody, from McKinley days to so many things. She shows me and my family so much love.
She was like another mom in high school.
That was something. I don't know if they have those anymore in high school, but we had some. Miss Pride, Miss Keys, some of the other people. I graduated with Martina, his sister.
Yep. Like shout out to Johnny McElroy.
Yep. You're right. Yes, McKinley was different. Shout out to Canton McKinley.
Yep.
Shout out to the Keys family and shout out to the work you guys have done to start this. And I'm excited. Lucas Tyndale, for those who don't know, Lucas Live Media owner, founder, executive producer. I'm like the Tyler Perry around here,
Yeah.
So I'm excited because I love to I'm fascinated by people and I'm fascinated by fascinating topics, which is what I do on my podcast, Lucas Live. But I also produce podcasts and I also enjoy, when I'm listening to a radio show, sometime the producer comes in studio, right?
Yeah.
And it's like the producer's around and they come in and they ask great questions because they know the people. So I'm here to, highlight some of the things you're talking about, maybe share some perspectives that I have. Yeah. And I'm going to ask the questions that I think the people have. Yeah. Because whenever we're an expert at something, sometimes we need an outsider to ask us things, to pull out what we know, because we don't even think to say that thing. Right. Because it's like, I forgot that people don't know that part because I learned that 5 years ago. But to the novice, to the average person, it's like, that's profound information. And that's what happens every time I talk to you. I feel like, I'm just like, that's brilliant stuff. I'm like, do you tell people that? Did you tell anybody that? Have you said that before? Where'd you get that from? You're like, yeah, I speak. You travel, you speak. You work with athletes. You worked in universities. You've been doing this for a minute. Yeah.
So I've been doing this for a while. At the end of the day, when I graduated from Kent State University in 2001, I started my career in student development. And I worked with students and student athletes in various forms.
Right.
But when I got started in 2001, social media wasn't popping.
It wasn't what it is today.
Yeah. So there's a lot of content that I've given over the years.
Right.
And I always try to push myself to always have fresh content. But now it's like I need to take it to the next level of presenting the content that I share with students, coaches, educators. It's time to take that to the world. Yeah. And in order to do that, I felt this was a good match for us to work together to maximize the online platform and social media platform.
That's where it's at. And I'm big on it because I'm really big on producing podcasts and content. I believe every business should have a podcast for real.
No, it's real because it's another form of marketing. Yeah. And, people got to get outside their comfort zones and push themselves. Yeah. To maximize the opportunities that they have. And that's what this show is all about. It's trying to help student athletes, parents, coaches, and educators that surround student athletes for them to maximize their opportunity.
Love it.
And my podcast it has a 3-part mission. I am student athlete. Number 1 is to motivate student athletes to maximize their window of academic and athletic opportunity. It's one thing to do something, but the question is, do you maximize it? Right. And definitely when you start talking about high school and up, 9th to 12th grade, that's just a window of opportunity. It's 4 years, right? But it's a quick 4 years, right? Or even that time in college, it's 4 years, 4 or 5 years. It's a long time, but it's a short time. So the question is, are you getting all that you should get out the deal? And we'll talk about that a little bit more over the later on and over the segments. Okay. And then, number 2 is to prepare student athletes who will go to the next level for the next level. Okay. Because it's one thing to be dominant at the high school level. Yes. But then it's another thing when you start getting into the best of the best, you cream rise to the top. Yeah. And now the best of the best is competing. Yes. And so that's a stair step that many student athletes have to climb. Even your best student athletes, when you start talking about going to the next level, you better be prepared for that next level.
Don't trip up that step.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because you could be athletically gifted. You can go through all the drills, but then you got to go through everyday life when you hit a college campus.
Woo.
Listen, it's a big jump for a lot of student athletes to go from middle school to high school.
Yes.
So we want to make sure that they're prepared to take the next steps. And then at the end of the day, number 3, to educate student athletes on how to go pro in something other than sports. Because at the end of the day, sports is a stint.
Right.
I don't even call it a career.
Wow.
Because if you look at the totality of your life, let's just say you live to be 96.
Right.
4 years in high school, 4 years in college. And if the average, let's say a pro career, let's say like in the NFL, the average pro career is only 2 to 3 years.
That's wild.
The best of the best get to do a 10-year run.
Man.
And only anomalies get to do Tom Brady runs.
Right.
So at the end of the day, whether it's 3 years or 12 years, that's really a stint in the totality of your life.
That's a big deal.
And so you got to figure out
point.
How are you going to earn a living? How are you going to go pro in something other than sports? So we're trying to be comprehensive.
I love that.
At the end of the day.
I love that. That's a fascinating point. And you shared that with me before, that most athletes need to be ready to go when the game is over, when that part of their life is over. And so many of them have found their identity in it. And we're not downing the fact that they found success, they found themselves, they found a passion, they found a gift. Wonderful.
Right.
However, most, you said, have to find a way to go pro in something other than sports. I look forward to hearing more about that. I think that's a fascinating concept.
Yeah.
And I think it's fascinating also to be a hometown hero. When you're in high school, you can be in your local newspaper every week. You can be celebrated locally. And then you get to college and it's like everybody came from that. You ain't the star necessarily. And you got to earn your way up, and you got to maybe play some scout team and special teams and all the stuff that you did. Maybe you never did. There's some athletes that came into high school and never were on the scout team because they were just that good. Right?
Yeah.
So then they have to go through navigating that and keeping their identity while balancing school, balancing all the partying that's in their face, all the freedom of college and no parents.
Everyday, navigating everyday life.
Yes.
Navigating the opportunities in life, and then also navigating life's adversity.
Yes.
And so when you start talking about going to the next levels, now you even looking at how I might have been the star in middle school, but now I got to become a role player to play. Because you got a lot of dynamics going on right now. If I ain't starting right off back, or if I'm not playing X amount of minutes, well, you was the big dog here.
Yes. You was the big dog in the small pond.
Are you really the big dog here? And then there's a lot of stars who was stars in high school, but because they understand the business of sports, man, now you got to go to college.
Yeah.
And you might be a role player in college, or people are just as good as you.
Yeah.
And so the question is, do you put that overall work in? You know, like a classic example for those in Canton, Ohio, you know, like people don't realize, go back, you use an example like Canton McKinley basketball player Eric Snow.
Yes.
Eric Snow in high school, he had 30-point games.
Man. He was the man.
Yeah, he was the man. But then when he went to Michigan State, he specialized in defense.
Yeah.
Specialized in being a true point guard, a distributor.
Yeah.
And that took away from scoring because now you got people around you who at the next level. And so while he could score,
you're right,
playing his role.
Yep.
And that parlayed into like a 13-year career.
That's fascinating.
In the NBA. And so that's another conversation that we got to continue to have. Understand the business of sports.
Yes.
Because it's too many that are playing off emotions and off raw talent.
Yeah.
But do you truly understand the game?
That's a big deal because Eric Snow is legendary. Shout out to Eric. Shout out to the Snow family and the Weatherspoons and everybody. I mean, huge family here in Canton. Phenomenal athletes. Still going. Shout out Sean. Is coaching at Canton McKinley. Sean Weatherspoon, family member.
I had the pleasure of coaching with him his first year at Alliance High School. I focus on student athlete development. I don't do the X's and O's.
Okay, you would draw them no plays.
And player to that.
No, I'm not drawing the plays of life that you would draw.
But it was I had an excellent time coaching with him for that year, and then he got an offer that you can't refuse.
You can't not go back.
A bunch of people would love to have. Number one, go back to their alma mater, but then get the head coaching position at Canton
field
McKinley.
house,
at the field house, all the electricity that's in that place and the history.
Man.
So big shout out to him. They had a solid first year.
Yes.
So looking forward what they're going to be doing going into the second season.
Yep. And I love what you said about Eric. Learning to play a role, which is something I'm sure you'll talk about more, is a lot of times we're not willing to do that. And a lot of people who saw Eric Snow as a professional don't know the 30-point a game, say, or someone who scored tremendously well, was super athletic, super talented. They don't know him. They know him as dumping the ball off to Allen Iverson or something. Right?
And
that's all they ever saw.
And also Allen Iverson saying, I don't want nobody else facilitating the ball but him.
And then people don't know that. They don't realize that, man. Hey, I just got to
So when an NBA star
superstar
says that,
superstar
that extended his career even more and value even more.
Yep.
So where some people may say, well, he may not was a superstar.
Yeah.
But he was a star.
He was. He shined.
Because he played his role.
Yes.
And that's one thing, I try to push the athletes I work with understand the overall game.
Yeah.
Because things change depending upon which level you go on.
Love that.
Yep. All right, Lucas. So, man, what we talking about today, man?
So, so we're talking about the relaunch today, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about the relaunch of I Am Athlete and
I Am Student Athlete.
I Am Student Athlete.
Got to be careful. There is a podcast called I Am Athlete.
Great point.
I Am Student Athlete.
I Am Student Athlete. Our lawyer said, no, I am Student Athlete. Yes.
Legal counsel.
Counsel. I Am Student Athlete. Yep. So since the relaunch episode, it's the relaunch episode. Let our viewers know why you created I Am Student Athlete.
Man, I just didn't create it. There's a lot of podcasts out there. People start their podcasts for various reasons. But based upon my body of work over my career, I go back starting my summer of graduating from McKinley High School. Started off as a camp counselor for YMCA. So I got a body of work over 20 plus years.
Right.
But for the podcast, I felt led, but I also felt the calling, for various reasons, comes from my own student athlete experience, being an undersized, strong safety at Canton McKinley.
Undersized, strong. I'm sure. Strong side.
You got to use the words with undersized, strong safety.
That don't sound right.
5'7".
Wow.
175-ish pounds.
Man.
And, just like so many other student athletes, you had that dream of going to the next level and playing in college.
Right.
And also, especially for those of us who grew up in the hood, you're like, I want to go to the league.
Yeah.
Maybe buy my mom a house.
Take care of my mama now.
And then you start realizing, man, I quit growing.
Wait a minute.
No, I hit 10th grade. I'm only 5'7".
Right.
Working out, doing what I need to do.
Yep.
Trying to take care of my body. 11th grade, you still 5'7".
Still 5'7". Wasn't that change?
Senior, still 5'7". And then now you got to start, you start really understanding dynamics of what it takes to get recruited.
Yeah.
I'm playing with a ton of Division I players.
Yes.
And I'm like, my body don't look like they body.
Right. They keep
and so
bigger.
It's like, what are you going to do? So, back in the mid-90s, there wasn't as much information out there readily available.
Okay.
We had people giving us information.
Right.
But the plethora or the amount of information wasn't out there.
Wasn't what
like
it is
that.
today, right?
And so I look at it as I want to be able to take my experience and I always decided now that when my career ended, I don't want to be that bitter athlete running around. I shoulda, coulda, woulda, or if this didn't happen, I said I'm gonna parlay this into take my experience, parlay it into my student and student athlete development career, and help point student athletes in the right direction.
I love that
because at the end of the day, there was no next step manual.
Right.
I think about my senior year, 1995. We playing Massillon. We beat Massillon.
Okay.
I run across the field, get the victory.
Bell, get the victory bell. It's a picture of you with the victory bell.
Me and Agent Brown pull the victory bell.
Yep.
And so I didn't real quick though, I didn't realize how heavy the bell was.
That's hilarious.
Listen, I ran across the bell. I ran across the field, get the bell. Adrian Brown coming behind me. He was like, I knew he was going to try to run and get that mug. And I took off trying to pull it, almost ripped my whole stomach muscles out. So I was glad he came, to help me pull that bell.
Right.
But then, you celebrate, you have a party, and then you wake up the next morning like, what's next?
Yeah.
No scholarship offers.
Wow.
So I'm like, I went through a whole process of learning to navigate life after committing so many years to sports.
Right.
Walked on at Kent State, tore my cartilage and my knee in the East-West All-Star game.
Wow.
So I had to get my knee scoped twice. I walked on at Kent State because I was a preferred walk-on.
Right.
But then it's like, man, with all the work, paying for college, I'm like, I'm going to hang my cleats up and just get my degree. But I was like, I am still going to take my experience and make the best of it.
Yep.
And it's a lot of student athletes going to have to do that. And then check this stat out. According to the NCAA, 98% of high school student athletes will have to go pro in something other than sports.
Say that percentage again.
I'm gonna say it again.
What was that? What?
I also want to do my due diligence with this show, not just throwing stuff out there. And people just like, do we know what he's talking about?
Right.
I'm gonna also do my homework too.
Right.
And the NCAA been promoting this fact for decades now. Because everybody should get a scholarship. And at the end of the day, everybody don't get scholarships. Right. So let's look at these stats right here.
Okay.
According to the NCAA, there's 7.2 million high school student athletes. From high school, it's 7.2 million. The rough number is 500,499,000 actually play in college.
Wow.
So high school to NCAA, that's only 7%.
Wow.
And then going from NCAA to a major professional sport, that's only 2%. So 98% is going to have to go pro.
Something else.
In something other than sports. And so we got to get student athletes, while you going hard at your sport to give yourself the best opportunity, we also got to push you to prepare for life after sports.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of ways. We don't want to get all into it on this episode.
Okay.
But there's a ton of ways that you can still be involved in sports, but you may not be the athlete or the product.
Right.
But it's an economy around sports. But then also, too, athletics and sports industry is only one of many industries that you can use your talents, gifts, and ability, to earn a living. This other stat says almost all of us, from this snippet or this commercial, it says all of us will be going pro in something other than sports. The point of this commercial is to remind high-level student athletes that everyone doesn't make it. 98% of them won't make it. Hence, they will graduate and be professionals in their respective lines of work. In other words, don't go to a college and don't get your degree. Because part of the deal on the student athlete's end, you get to get a free college education.
Right.
That's valued at a lot of schools $20,000+ a year.
Right.
So get what you're supposed to get out the deal.
Yep.
Because colleges is getting what they get out the deal.
For sure.
And so really getting student athletes to maximize this window of opportunity, because everybody don't get it, especially those, if you're a part of that 7% that play in college sports, but only 2% gonna go pro.
That's wild.
And then also, from my coaching experience, I've coached defensive backs for about 4 years at McKinley. I had a great experience.
That's fun,
but looking at
man.
all the time that you put into it, I was like, I want to do more of the player development side.
Yeah.
And, just watching student athletes over the years put so much energy into a process that I know that they're going to have to transition into.
Yeah.
And being young, sometimes we don't always listen to advice the way we should.
Right.
And then you have that time in their senior year, like, man. So I didn't watch student athletes. I didn't even heard student athletes say, I'm giving up on God because I ain't go to the next level.
Wow.
I'm like, hold on.
Yeah,
The totality of your life.
It's not just
you shouldn't denounce your faith over a sport.
Right.
Student athletes get in depressions or they go through years of wondering because why I got to transition.
Yeah.
And I haven't truly prepared.
That's fair. Let me pause you there to talk about student athlete. All right. I think we are living in a world with a lot of athlete students, right? And I don't know if that's right or wrong. We're living in a world where even in high school, if you're a great player, there's some concessions made at times around your academic performance or whatever it may be, or you get extra help, support, tutors, whatever they call them. Then you get to college, same thing. You're traveling half the time. You are a commodity. The school is making millions or billions. They're making so much money off of you.
It's a multi-billion-year industry.
It is, right? Yeah. So it's like you being in the classroom doesn't benefit them. There's no highlights for that. There's no commercials to run against that. There's no sponsorships against you in your classroom. If whatever you do in your classroom is to your benefit, later. Right. What you do on the field or on the court or on the wherever you play, whatever sport it is to the university's benefit. Nothing against them on that. But what are your thoughts on student athlete versus athlete student? How do you, when you see yourself as an athlete first, you were recruited to that school as an athlete, not for your academics. You know where the money is coming from. It's from what you do on the field or on the court, not in the classroom. That's not why they brought you there. How do you not focus more on the athletics? And then when it's over, you're like, well, no, I didn't focus on the student side. That wasn't what I was brought here for. You didn't hire me to be a student. You hired me to be a commodity on the court or on the field. How should an athlete balance the student athlete versus the athlete student situation?
So I really think what you just said, you talked about a mindset.
Okay.
At the end of the day, when student athletes sign a national letter of intent, you're signing a contract that says you're going to be a student athlete.
Okay.
So you got to understand what you're signing.
Right.
You can't just get caught up in, I got this opportunity as an athlete.
Right.
And that's what I'm going to focus on.
Right.
And then especially you got to be realistic about your overall talent. Because you may have an athlete. I'm just using an example. It's the hot topic right now. You might have a Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese.
Yeah.
Where their talent.
Shout out to women's basketball.
Yeah.
Coming up in the world.
You know, their talent is so high at an elite talent that you know they're gonna go to the next level unless they get hurt.
And they were making money at the college level.
And they were making money at the college level, but that's a small percentage.
Okay.
Not everybody is getting NIL deals like that.
Yes.
So you gotta understand that I'm here as a student, then an athlete.
Yes.
And then also you gotta look at, while I know this is my goal, but what is the overall overarching goal that I'm here? And it's hard for sometimes people to push through because it's easy to let my life outside of sports leak into it.
Yeah.
And I'm not even being hard, and there's hard on student athletes, but understanding, when you grow up in certain circumstances, this is an opportunity that you see your way out.
Yeah.
But I gotta, what's the word I like to use is you gotta compartmentalize.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the struggle I went through.
Yeah.
And not let that leak into this opportunity so much that you're not prepared because why? The percentage that go to the next level is just too small.
Yeah.
So it's that old adage, you can't put all your eggs in one basket.
Great point.
You got to spread it around.
Great point.
And, I'm also careful to tell student athletes, I don't go off this thing, whether it's students or student athletes, that you can do anything. That's actually, and I'll be willing to debate it, that's actually setting people up for failure in a certain state. You can do anything according to your talent, gifts, ability, and work ethic.
I like that work ethic part.
So you can do anything. So I'm not denying that. But where your talents, gifts, and ability will take you.
Yes.
At the end of the day.
And your willingness to work to make it work.
And your willingness to work.
Yes.
And so it's so one-dimensional to freeze yourself into the mode of being just an athlete. Because even if you are an athlete, what if you are that one that go to college?
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah.
What if you are the one that play 3 years?
Yeah.
Or 6 years? And that's it.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a small window.
You're not even 30 yet.
You're not even 30 yet.
Right.
So you just got to be able to say, I gotta mature.
Yeah.
And add some more information. And really that's where I feel it comes from.
Yeah.
sometimes it's an emotional feeling due to trying to get somewhere,
right?
But they're operating off lack of information. So I encourage all student athletes to get as much information as possible, so that they can maximize their overall experience.
Love that.
And so the focus is trying to get student athletes all the information that they need to consider, and not be in denial of the truth.
Okay.
Because it's April.
Yeah.
I'm working with high school teams right now, and we got a lot of seniors who is coming into the reality of the truth that, that stuff he was talking about is true, because they don't have offers on the table.
Right.
And, just want to send a big shout out to, like Darrin Peterson.
Yeah, shout out to him.
He's a phenom at the end of the day.
Literally.
So if we look at these stats from the NCAA, in high school, there's 540,000 basketball players.
Right.
This dude is ranked number 3 out of 500,000 student athletes.
And the number 1 guard in the entire nation.
The number 1 guard in the entire nation. He's an anomaly.
Yes. Shout out to
And so and shout out to him.
And his family.
And he put the work in.
Yes.
He do everything he's supposed to do, but he's been blessed to have that level of talent.
Yes. And then the support system, the family,
and the support
parents,
system, they got
phenomenal stuff.
Shout out to them. They got a whole engine around him.
Right.
But the issue becomes is other student athletes looking at his engine, and you don't have that engine.
Interesting.
So you can't base where you're going off what he has, because you're not in that percentage. And then you talk about men's basketball. Now they go from high school to college. Now you're down to 18,000. Because why? Basketball teams are smaller.
True.
And not everybody that's sitting on that bench, Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, Ohio State, not everybody on that bench got a scholarship.
Right.
Then you break that from high school to the NCAA, that 18,000 that produces down or gets shrunk down to 3.5%. And then only 1.2% actually go to the pros.
Man.
So there are student athletes that got the call, they got the ability, but it's about the masses. You got to be realistic.
Yes.
Because if you're not the kid that got 25 offers as a freshman,
right,
sophomore, junior year, you go into your senior year, you got 1 to 0 offers.
1 to 0.
And the closer you get to the start of your senior year, the more you're gonna have to really consider going pro in something other than sports. So I want the viewers to understand I am coming from an education standpoint and fact standpoint. And if you are one of those ones that is able to go to the next level, then go do it.
Yeah.
And maximize it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we gotta be well-rounded and get prepared for all aspects of life.
I love that.
Because I am tired of this scenario that I call it they really wasn't playing senior year scenario.
Okay. They hadn't played it out in their mind.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, like, you really do gotta have grades.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of student athletes.
It's not just barely be eligible.
Yeah, because really to compete in colleges that's offering scholarships, they really want you to have a 3.3 or above. Because they're investing a certain amount of money into you.
That's wild.
You talking about some state schools 30,000 plus a year.
Yeah.
Times that by 4 or 5. They pretty much saying if you're not going to take high school academics seriously, you're not going to take this leap and this grind in college.
Right.
So then you got to look at they really wasn't playing when it comes to player profile.
Yeah.
Like
what's a player profile?
Player profile, like for example, is your size.
Okay.
Most safeties in Division I colleges are 5'10" or taller.
Okay.
You got to be a phenomenal athlete to be under 5'9" to be a safety, and they're gonna offer you some money.
Right.
Most guys in the league is 6'2" and above.
That's wild. Safeties.
No, well, I'm
most of the guys in general.
in the NFL. I'm not the NFL. Excuse me, the NBA.
Okay, right. Yep.
6'2" and above.
Yep.
You're really talking about 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", and up.
Yep.
So you got to really look at that size.
Yeah.
And so like the difference between Division I, Division II, and Division III is really size.
That's fascinating. And
you got
then
a 6'8", 6'7", 6'8" tight end.
Yeah.
Or offensive lineman.
D1.
Division II, you might be 6'2".
Yeah.
Division III, they do have some guys that's taller, but I'm talking about like the average. You might could get away with being 5'11", 6 foot in Division III.
Fascinating.
So just throwing out a couple stats that you got to look at the player profile.
That's
because
good.
It's a lot of ton of phenomenal athletes. They just caught up in miniature bodies.
That's deep. He's like an action figure. His brother's an action figure. He can't actually go to the next level. Interesting. And that's a reality people have to face and deal with and prepare for that senior year, watch their growth patterns, and just be ready for that. And I think it's physical growth. It's also mental growth, right? It's mindset matters too. And I know we're going to talk about that as well. Yeah. So,
you know, a couple things that I really focus on in my player development is number one, mindset, effort, and coachability.
Okay.
Those are the three things that I kind of rest on.
Yep.
Because you got to have the right mindset.
Right.
You gotta go when they're talking about preparing for games with the right mindset. You got to play games with the right mindset.
Yeah.
But then also you got to have the right mindset for not just sports, but also life. And so like in the intro, I talk about being a triple-double mindset student athlete.
So what exactly is a triple-double mindset athlete? What is that?
So triple-double in basketball. You got where you get double digits in multiple
three categories
in different categories.
Right.
But also you got the triple threat position.
Okay.
In basketball.
Yep.
Where they say you need to be need to be ready to make a move.
Yeah.
Be able to pass or shoot.
I remember that. Shout out to the Southeast Community Center and all those all those basketball camps back in the day.
Right.
Shout out to everybody.
Right. Yeah. So it's like take some of these concepts that we learn from sports, and I really got to focus on mastering the classroom to the best of my ability.
Yep.
Doing what I need to do on the field or court, depending upon what sport you play.
Yep.
But then also I got to prepare for everyday life.
Yeah.
Because even if you are going to have that long career, you're not playing sport 24 hours a day.
Right.
Now you might be training a lot of them hours in that window, but for the totality of your life, man, you got to be well-rounded at the end of the day. All right, so Lucas, we're going to hit this segment of the I Am Student Athlete podcast called the Coach's Clinic.
Okay.
The Coach's Clinic segment is where we will hear directly from the mouth of coaches, trainers, and experts on student athlete topics.
Okay.
So this particular clip that we're going to show, we're going to take a look at this clip from Coach Prime, Coach Deion Sanders.
Shout out to Coach Prime.
Shout out to Coach Prime.
Yes.
Colorado Buffaloes.
Yes.
Going into that currently.
You never know.
Going into that second season.
Yeah. I love him at Colorado. He's so phenomenal, though. I can't imagine if somebody's watching this 5 years from now, I wouldn't be surprised if he's anywhere because they want him.
Listen. I'm going to go back on you. I'm going to fight back on you. I'm going to push back on you.
Okay.
At the end of the day, I don't think he's going to go nowhere.
You don't think so?
This is just my thought right now.
It's cold in Colorado. You been there?
It's cold in Colorado.
He a Dallas guy.
He a Dallas guy.
Or a Southern guy. But
Florida
you gotta look, Florida State. He a Southern guy.
You got to look at the top spots, though.
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day,
is number one. That's all I got. I'm saying.
So
Ryan Day ain't trying to go nowhere.
Ryan
he just
Day
said that
ain't trying to go nowhere. Not saying that they won't.
Yeah.
You got you got the new coach at Alabama.
But if it don't work, but you're right. That's new.
You at the top of the top.
Okay.
But I think he gonna try to build an empire there.
His own thing where he can say, because Alabama wasn't Alabama until Nick Saban got there.
Yeah, so there's only so many jobs that you can get. Yeah. And so now it's about how innovative you can be in recruiting.
Okay, what about Florida State though? Florida is hot. It's his alma mater. I'm not saying now. I'm not saying now.
But I think
in the future,
like Florida State, they're in good hands right now.
They are.
And not saying that they wouldn't leave, but I just think he gonna focus on building that program. And I could be wrong.
Quick question about that too, since we're talking real quick. This is bonus, by the way, everybody. This is extra. What about going pro? Why not go coach the Cowboys or something?
He's said it many times. I watched a ton of stuff since he was at Jackson State. He don't have the patience to deal with pro athletes.
Rich, grown people.
His rich, grown people.
Yeah.
He said, my calling is to help build young men.
I believe it is. I believe
in the
that's
college.
True. Yeah.
In the college.
Okay.
Ranks.
All right.
But like I say, I don't know. I could be wrong.
All right.
But I'm the type of person.
This was the debate segment. We didn't plan that, but we had to talk it out. Wait a minute.
Lucas hijacked it.
No, wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute.
With the Coach Prime question.
Right.
But I'm of the model of where he's at, he can win a national championship.
Okay.
It's different if he was just at maybe like a MAC conference school.
Yes.
Or a Conference USA school.
Yeah.
And then I want to go up.
Yeah.
But he's in a Power 5. He's at a Power 5 school.
Yeah.
Power 5 conference.
Yep.
Now the question is getting the real talent there.
Yes.
And since you said that, and it kind of leads into this video that we'll take a look at, is a lot of people want to go play for Coach Prime.
Mm-hmm.
But the question is, are you willing to put the work in? Because it's beyond the NIL deals.
Yes.
It's beyond the flash. If you really look at it, that man's about business.
He is.
He is in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And there's upper echelons in the Hall of Fame. He could be in the conversation of the top 5 players that ever played the game.
Absolutely.
So he knows how the game is supposed to be played.
Good point. I like that.
And he wasn't lazy.
Yes.
He was a student of the game.
Yes.
So people got to be careful about the commitment that they're making. Are you really ready to make that commitment? Because people got in that transfer portal,
man,
and like, oh man, he's demanding excellence.
Yeah, and they got
the type of excellence that you've seen out of Georgia,
yes,
Alabama,
right,
and Ohio State.
Yeah,
and this you don't just get to come do your own thing,
right?
So the Coaches Clinic segment, once again, is where we will hear directly from the mouths of coaches, trainers, and experts on student athlete topics. So this first video is Coach Prime at the end of a game in a press conference, and he is giving feedback on a question about why I think he was top 1, 2, or 3 corners Cormani McClain. So let's see what it says.
I mentioned last week that Cormani seeing the field was up to Cormani. I wonder if you could elaborate on what you want to see him do, 1, and 2, did he help his case?
Study, prepare.
Late against
Study, prepare, be on time for meetings. Show up to the darn meetings. Understand what we're doing as a scheme. Want to play this game. Desire to play this game. Desire to be the best in this game. At practice, in the film room, and on your own free time. You do know that I check film time for each player upon the week. Thursday, I need film times from the whole staff so I can see who's been preparing. And that's just not about Cormani. That's about a multitude of them. So if I don't see you would be a fool to put somebody out there and they're unprepared. Can't do it. Won't do it. Can't do it. I'm old school. I'm sorry.
Did Oregon help in that regard because he got out there late? Did what you saw?
What a score. Shoot. I started to put you out there at one point.
All right, Lucas. So we didn't watch this video from Coach Prime.
Man.
So number one, I need my viewers to understand this. What we're about to do is look at this video as like a case study.
Okay.
This is not to execute or persecute Cormani McClain. We're looking at this because at the end of the day, if I talked about Joe Blow,
right,
you'd be like, well, who is he?
Who is that? Right.
But this is an attention getter to be able to get student athletes see the level of work and commitment outside of just the game.
Yes.
And when you start talking about the transfer portal, kids going here, there, it's bigger than kids going here and there just for NIL bags.
Right.
A lot of students, I know from experience and talking to people and talking to some coaches,
right,
there's a lot of kids popping through different programs, especially once they hit high school, they see the level of work.
Yeah.
And the demand,
right,
and the intensity of coaches trying to prepare, because guess what? Coaches' livelihoods are on the line.
Absolutely.
So they got to win games.
Yes.
And then if you're serious about your craft and the sport, there's a level of work outside of game day that you got to commit to.
Right.
And so it's kind of one of those things that you got to know the totality of what you're getting into. So this isn't just focused on Cormani McClain, but this is also to catch attention of when you talk about going to the next level, what are all the things that you need to have in order to satisfy the coach's level to put you in the game? And Coach Prime answered the question.
Yeah.
You know, multiple after several games, people were asking, why is he not playing?
Yeah.
Because they were looking at Travis Hunter.
Right.
So Travis Hunter out there balling.
Right.
Why Cormani not
both
balling?
sides of the field and everything.
So they like, well, shoot, you can have it locked down on both sides of the field.
Right.
But one of the things that I didn't see a lot of people talking about, because I watched every game, was like there was amount of work that Travis was putting in that Coach Prime is telling these reporters that Cormani is not putting in. And I can't just put you in the game because you was great in high school. Right. Because we trying to win games at a whole nother level.
Yes.
So I'm going to go down to his list. He said he got to study. In other words, you got to study your craft.
Right.
And you can't get over on a coach who has done and mastered everything that you just that he's trying to get you to do.
Yes.
You talk about he's talking about, are you really preparing? You just can't jump on the football field when you hit college at Power 5 level and dominate.
Right.
Now, if he had a lower level school, they could just throw him out there and his athletic ability take over.
Right.
But you're dealing with offensive coordinators who eat, sleep, and breathe how to score on you.
Right. Right.
So if you're not prepared at the level, then he said, be on time for meetings.
Yeah.
So this is the stuff that I want student athletes to see. You can't just go to the flashiest program or the biggest program and just think they're going to just play you.
Right.
Because you.
Right. Ooh.
They're going to, it's a demand. And then Coach Prime wouldn't be doing his job if he just let him get by.
Oh.
Because there's going to come a point in his life where you're going to need to do everything you're supposed to do in order to maximize a certain opportunity. That's outside of football.
Whew.
So study, prepare, be on time for meetings.
Yeah.
Listen, show up for meetings.
Show up.
So that means he's literally not coming to meetings.
Right.
And this ain't, like I said, this ain't just about Cormani.
Yeah.
This is student athletes nationwide.
Yes.
Because I know from walking on at Kent State and watching D1 athletes, studying this thing, people don't realize how loaded a college day is. You up at 5 a.m.
Wow.
Listen, his name is, I don't know why it's slipping me right now, but Alabama's quarterback.
Okay.
Number 4. I don't know why his name is not popping in my head, but I saw this video clip. He's up at the facility every day at 4 a.m.
Man. Wow. That's wild.
4 a.m. Doing what they
young, you know how many college students is still up at 4 a.m. because they've been out partying all night?
Working out.
Man.
Watching film,
he's
doing
missing
whatever
a lot
he need to
of
do.
College stuff to do that.
Then he's going to class. He's doing more film study.
Yeah.
Then guess what? You in these college classes, you actually got to study for your classes.
Right.
So a student athlete could go from 4, 5, or 6 in the morning all the way to 1 o'clock at night and got to do the same thing every day.
Wow.
We got to find out the name of the player.
Yeah, we can look that up.
Let me pull that up real quick. I don't know why his name will not come up in my head.
They come and go quick, you know.
Alabama Crimson Tide starting quarterback.
Right. It's their current quarterback.
Jalen Milrose.
Oh, okay.
Yep, Jalen Milrose.
Yep.
His name his name just didn't pop up, but Jalen Milrose. So that's what people are doing at the Power 5 level.
If you want to be successful.
So if he's going to pull Colorado's program up to be able to compete, he got to pull everybody up.
He has to change the culture.
And listen, it ain't Coach hating.
Yes.
It's called, we got to go play Oregon.
Yeah, and they doing this over there.
We got to go play the teams in the Big 12.
Yes.
So you thinking I'm coming after you, I'm trying to get you prepared for what we're going to have to prepare for on this field.
I'm trying to create that triple-double mindset. That mindset that's not because what Coach Prime said when he came into Colorado is there was going to be a lot of changes. He was some people didn't like how
and he
confident
exceeded
he was about it.
Yep. Going from only winning one game the prior season to winning 4 games.
Yep. And he changed. His thing was changing the culture and changing the mindset, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what you're talking about as well.
And that's where, high school and college student athletes got to realize nobody's just picking on you.
Yeah.
Listen, being top notch in your sport is hard.
Yeah.
But if you commit to it and do it on a daily basis, you'll get to a particular point where, oh man, this ain't even as bad as I thought it was.
Right.
I mean, you talking about understanding what the team is doing as a scheme, but there's plays that they're trying to execute to be able to score.
Right.
Defenses is trying to execute their defense in order to stop people from scoring.
Right.
So you got to understand all the stuff that's going on.
Right.
And within that particular system.
Right.
Your athletic ability, you might have made some mistakes with the scheme in high school, but your athletic ability covered it up.
Yeah.
Here, you'll get exploited.
Yes. And at the next level, you won't even see the field.
Yep.
Your name won't even make and there's people who get drafted. We just had the NFL draft just this last few days and today. There's people who get drafted and don't even make the team. That's wild. Because they're sitting there with their families, especially on, the later rounds, especially, but even some of the earlier rounds. And their families are crying and celebrating and thinking they finally reached their dream. And if they don't have the mindset, or if they messed around and had a college coach that let their skill outrun a culture and a mindset, eventually, someone once said this, and I'm sure it's been said many times, but the fake will evaporate.
Yeah.
The things that aren't real about your habits will expose you eventually.
Yeah.
And what looked so flashy and so good at one moment ain't gonna look so good later.
Yeah. Because now when you was looking at, I'm gonna go to this particular school, and then I got access to get this NIL bag, but then when you see the work that you got to put in, you're like, man, do I really want to pay the price?
Right.
And so like Coach Prime talk about, he keep receipts.
Yeah.
So when you not studying, when you're not preparing, when you don't be on time to meetings, if you don't even show up for meetings and you're not even understanding what they doing as a team within the scheme of what they're running, now he's questioning, do you really even want to play the game? Do you have a desire to play the game?
Right.
Have a desire to be the best at practice and in the film room. A lot of people just look at Friday night lights.
Yes.
Or Saturday morning lights.
Yep.
They're not looking at if I have to practice at a particular level so I can play at a particular level, because you can't turn the switch on.
We talking about practice.
Yeah,
we talking about practice.
But a lot of athletes is like, you talking about practice? The same way that Allen Iverson clipped. Yeah. But then the reality is now you're going out here getting exploited.
Yeah.
And so it's not even just for the sport. It's about if you be lackadaisical, they say, or not put in the effort that you should, that might not be, that's also a reflection of maybe how you do some things in other areas of your life.
Right.
And let's be honest. You got to be excellent. You got to push yourself towards excellent in multiple areas of your life.
Right.
And then here go the kicker. You talking about actually doing stuff on your own free time. So a lot of student athletes, they up at 4, 5, 6 in the morning, doing what they need to do with the team.
Right.
Then they're going to class. Then they're coming back studying. In between there, they got to get their nutrition.
Right.
They got to eat right. I mean, these colleges are making everything readily available for them to succeed.
Right.
But the question is, do you have the endurance to put the work in? And so, looking at this clip from the Coaches Clinic coming from Coach Prime, let it just be a lesson to all student athletes. Be willing to pay the price that the sport demands.
Love that.
And if you're not willing, you can't say that this person is hating on me.
Right.
Because I'm watching now, there's a lot of tension between players and coaches, where the coaches is coming off the idea of, hey, I'm trying to get you prepared.
Right.
And there's some players that's like, oh man, they hating on me.
Yep.
No, I'm asking you to rise to the next level, rise to the occasion.
Yes.
And meet the demand so that we can have victory at the end of games. And then when a team loses, now everybody want to just blame the coach. But they're not looking at what the players are not doing.
Right.
And I'm in for a shared responsibility.
Yes.
Coaches got to handle their end, and the players got to handle their end at the end of the day. So, at the end of the day, you got to be willing to pay that price. It's a price. It's a price for greatness.
I love it.
All right, Lucas, here go our quote for the day. Okay. Come from Winston Churchill. This is the ReLaunch episode. We talked about various things that student athletes need to do to be able to compete at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
And I Am Student Athlete is here to prepare student athletes mentally so that when windows of opportunity come, they can maximize the moment.
Love that.
Winston Churchill said, "To each there comes in their lifetime a special moment," and I'm going to say moments also, plural, when they are figuratively tapped on the shoulder and offered the chance to do a very special thing or things, unique to them and fitted to their talents. What a tragedy if that moment find them unprepared or unqualified for that which could have been their finest hour.
Wow.
So we're talking about getting student athletes prepared in the classroom, on the field of court, and in the game of life, because opportunities are going to come. Yeah. They're going to knock on student athletes' shoulder. Right. The question is, are you prepared?
Yes.
And are you qualified?
Love that. Love it.
Yeah, man. This is what I Am Student Athlete is all about. Student athlete world. We out of time, but certainly not out of message. This is the I Am Student Athlete podcast. Remember that greatness is a process, and you're more than an athlete. Peace.